Hi, I'm Kim Hutchinson. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Farmers Market Association. Good afternoon and welcome to our third webinar in our training series, Farmers Selling Online. This is part of an ongoing series that includes trainings on key topics of interest to farmers selling online direct to consumer. Today's training is Farmers Selling Online using Local Line. This is brought to you by the Virginia Farmers Market Association and Virginia State University in partnership with our sponsors, the Virginia Cooperative Extension, Virginia State University College of Agriculture, the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Virginia Farm Credit Knowledge Center, Virginia Farm Bureau, and Virginia Fairs. The third webinar in our Farmer Selling Online series for VAFMA and the Virginia State University Small Farm Outreach Program will take a closer look at Local Line, the online platform. It will be directed at farmers, but will also give market managers a better understanding of how the system works. We will walk attendees through the setup process, tracking inventory, and downloading reports. We'll also cover pricing, customer payment options, along with answering your questions about the program. For those of you who don't know who the Virginia Farmers Market Association is, VAFMA is a member-based statewide association focused on the sustainability of Virginia's 356 plus farmers markets. As a convener and a collaborator, VAFMA brings experts, thought leaders, and passionate individuals together from diverse interest groups to address and support the needs of the state's farmers, farmers markets, and the local food system. Now more than ever, during the difficult and unprecedented times of COVID-19, the Virginia Farmers Market Association continues to advocate for and strengthen connections between farmers markets and local producers in order to help maintain sustainable businesses, engage with their communities, and improve local food systems, all the while showcasing Virginia's bounty, creating a unique connection between food producers and consumers, and building safe community locations to access Virginia grown and produced nutrient-dense food. A couple of logistics. You all will be muted during the presentation. You can mute and unmute, and you can cut your video on and off yourself. Please keep yourself muted during the presentation because the feedback creates a lot of static and makes it hard for all of us to hear. There is a chat button at the bottom of your screen. You may enter any question in the chat button at any time, and we will answer that question as well as we will pose it to the speakers throughout the presentation. So don't forget to mute and unmute and to enter your questions in the chat box, and we will answer all of those as soon as possible. Our facilitator for today's training is Michael Carter Jr. Michael is the Small Farm Resource Center Coordinator with VSU's Small Farm Outreach Program. Michael is an 11th generation farmer and is the 5th generation to farm on Carter Farms, his family's Century Farm in Orange County, Virginia, where he gives workshops on how to grow and market ethnic vegetables. With Virginia State University, he is the Small Farm Resource Center Coordinator for the Small Farm Outreach Program. Michael sits on the boards of the Virginia Association of Biological Farmers and the Virginia Food Shed Capital. He also serves as the state coordinator for the Black Church Food Security Network and as the food safety coordinator for the 6-state Farm to Table organization. This training is being recorded, and the link will be emailed to you as soon as it is available. It also will be up on YouTube for you to view at any time. I will now turn this training over to Michael Carter Jr. Michael?
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Michael Carter Jr. with Virginia State University Small Farm Outreach Program. The Small Farm Outreach Program serves as extension support for Virginia's 43,500 approximately small farmers throughout the state of Virginia. We offer workshops, trainings, programs, conferences, webinars, generally free of charge to our farmers across the state. This is another extension of how we offer our services to our farmers with partnerships like with Virginia Association of Farmers Market Association. My role today would be to facilitate this workshop as well as ask questions from a farmer's perspective. Without further ado, our first speaker is Mr. Chris Walker. Chris grew up on a family farm and understands firsthand the importance of efficient farming operations. He still spends a lot of time helping out his dad and brother when he can, but Local Line is where his passion is. where his passions for software sales and agriculture come together to help strengthen local food systems across North America. I think he's calling us from Quebec. So he had to actually get a passport to make that call today.
Ontario, actually.
Ontario, I'm sorry. Ontario.
No worries.
Still above the Mason-Dixon a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, Chris, welcome to Virginia. And we look forward to hearing more about you and your story.
Thank you, Michael. Really appreciate it. And really glad to be here. Thank you as well to the association for the opportunity to share a little bit more about Local and what we do. I don't know anybody personally who will give me 90 minutes to speak on anything. So you guys were really generous to book this time in everybody's calendar to give me an hour and a half to talk a little bit more about what we do, how we help farmers, how we help markets, hubs, and share some of the success stories around that, and hopefully answer a lot of your questions. It's just about selling online in general, what we've seen work and doesn't work for farmers, and then get into the specifics of Local Line as another option for you guys to put on the table.
Chris,
so
you can share
I'll
your screen if you like. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Please keep me honest. So if you can't see what I'm sharing, one sec, I'll pull up my screen here. Can you see me now?
Yep, looks good. Well, I mean, it's in slide mode if you want to hit. There you go.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Appreciate that. And as was mentioned before, if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll work through them. I guess on when Michael tells me to start answering them. So thanks again. Just to kind of keep us on track and make the most of our time. Not sure if we're going to need the full hour and a half, but we will we'll try to get through as much of this as possible and make sure that it is really valuable for you. So I want to work through. I'll quick give you an introduction to myself and the Local Line team, kind of the team behind the tool, if you will. Then I want to talk about some common online misconceptions that people have when looking to, as a food supplier, move their business online, or at least part of it, and what that means. And some of the realities that maybe contradict those misconceptions. But then we can talk about some success stories. What do farmers who use Local Lines and Local Line and markets who use Local Line, what they've been able to achieve, and what a lot of the feedback on Local Line specifically as a tool has been. A lot of it has come out of the last few months since COVID as well. And then, of course, what is Local Line, the tool itself? We'll get into the in-depth nitty-gritty of the platform, how it works, how to upload products, what different options are available, and how it's designed specifically for farmers and other food suppliers. But one thing we see an increasing need for is not just having the tool and letting it exist and take orders for you, but how to actually optimize it to be successful. It doesn't matter whether you use Local Line or any other tool out there. It's only as good as the person operating it, just like any tool on a farm, really. So we do have a lot of best practices and tips and tricks that we've developed over the years from the farmers we work with that we're more than happy to share to help you get the most out of your use of Local Line. And then lastly, we'll give you a sneak peek as to what's coming in the future. This is kind of a unique opportunity with you guys that we want to show you what we're working on over the next couple of months. And then, of course, I'll answer your questions around pricing and stuff as well at that point. And then we can kind of jump to a general Q&A after that.
Sounds good.
Thanks. And Michael, just jump in, interrupt me if you want to answer questions on the fly, or if you want to wait till the end, that's fine too. Either way works. So as was mentioned, I grew up on a small family farm myself. I still love to get back there. I'm involved with kind of more of the seasonal operations of the farm quite a bit too. It was a small beef farm, cow-calf operation where my dad is still operating and my brothers got really involved in it. Growing up on a farm, I learned a lot, but certainly some of the key things that really pertain to my experience here at Local Line as well is to work smarter, not just harder. There are literally only so many hours in the day, and to use another farming cliche, there you got to make hay when the sun shines. So if that's the case, no farmer wants to sit at their computer spending hours doing admin. Also, why we really appreciate you taking the hour and a half today to sit at your computer with us. But we know that the time is valuable, and really focusing on that productivity, growing a good product, which is what you're passionate about, for your customers is really important to you. And that's something that really can't be replaced. Whereas a lot of the administration of order taking and inventory management and customer relationship management, things like that can be handled by technology like Local-Line to really help you save time, reduce errors, and just be more efficient and effective in your operation. So joining the team that you can see here, this is actually about half the team. This is an older photo. So we've probably about doubled the size since this photo was taken, but there's a team behind the tool that really is passionate about helping support local food ecosystems to become stronger. And never has that, certainly not in my lifetime, never has that been more important than it is now, coming out of COVID. And we'll talk about some of the challenges associated with that in a minute or two. So jumping right into a lot of the misconceptions, I think it's safe to say that you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be watching this webinar if you didn't already think that, or if you weren't already at least interested in moving online and what that can mean. So I trust that you've already thought that moving online is maybe an option you want to explore. But what I want to do today, spend a little bit of time on, is talking about some of those fears that we encounter, a lot of the farmers who first initially reach out to us, and what the reality of the situation actually is. And by all means, if there's other things that you're concerned about, please surface them in the chat, and happy to talk through them as well. So, number one is online takes a lot of time and expertise to get set up. And it also involves taking a lot of time, marketing expertise to build out a website. And then, as you can see here, not every farmer is super tech savvy. I mean, I think of my own dad as the quintessential example of this. He just got his first cell phone last December. And I was absolutely floored when 3 months later, he sent his first text to me. It was a big day, but that's certainly not all farmers are that technically challenged, but it can be a big burden if you're taking on a new piece of technology that you're not familiar with. And I totally get that fear, but the reality is that Local-Line is specifically designed to be very easy and intuitive to use. And there are a few different options in terms of how much time and effort you want to spend in actually building out your online presence around not only the e-commerce tool that is Local-Line, but building out a website to tell your farm story. A lot of farmers will get a good start on things like social media, so Facebook, Instagram, and other sources. And that's a really good start. And if you can do things like that, you should have no problem uploading products into Local-Line. And of course, we'll get into this a little bit later in terms of specifically how easy it is to do in our system and get set up. But really, we find that it only takes a couple of hours, in fact, to go from your first account or your first free trial sign up to being ready to actually take orders. And there's kind of what I refer to as this standalone version of Local-Line, where it's really basic, it's easy to use, it's easy for your customers to go in and order, easy for you on the back end to set up, and it really takes no additional technical expertise, no marketing expertise whatsoever. With that said, to optimize it, which we'll get into later, that does take a little bit more time, and I don't want to belabor, or I don't want to mischaracterize that by any means. But in terms of the actual operation and administration of Local-Line, it's not designed to be burdensome. It's designed to make your life a whole lot easier. So that's what it does. So I pull up this example. We've got Rob here at Mangalitsa of New York. I like to use him as an example because I hate to guess at his age, but he's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 80. Really great guy, but as a self-proclaimed technologically illiterate fella. So if that's the case, and he was able to get this set up in a couple of hours with a little bit of help from us, which we're more than happy to do. And that being the case, if he can do it, he's a great example that if he can do it, anybody can do it. So number two, that a lot of people believe that managing another sales channel will involve additional processes and take more time. So you've got a lot of different channels that you're trying to engage your customers with already, and adding in an online one will just add more frustration and more post-it notes to your existing processes. That's this, believe it or not, this is how a lot of farmers that we work with are very similar situations, whether you're managing it on post-it notes or Excel documents or Google Docs or things like that. And while those are a good start and can certainly help, they do have their limitations and they are prone to errors. So whereas Local-Line and online more generally is not designed to necessarily add in an additional channel, it's designed to help you manage the channels that you have existing today. So to funnel all of your different customer groups or all of your different orders into one place that streamlines your inventory management, your customer management, and all of the orders and processing that go with it, including invoicing. So we do have customers that will manage all of these channels through Local-Line, through different price lists, or we call them catalogs. So they can actually create a totally different price list and product list for wholesale customers versus the retail, which may come in through Facebook or actual physical markets, or their CSA, et cetera. So the idea here is not to add on an additional channel, but to actually streamline and funnel all of your different sources of marketing, or how your different customer groups, into one place where they can all order from you. And then you can spend less time dealing with orders and responding to phone calls or emails or text messages, and just focus on fulfilling orders that come in through your Local-Line online system. Number three, so the Field of Dreams reference here, if you build it, they will come. This is one thing where, some people do struggle with, admittedly, is it's not, and again, we'll get into this a little bit later in the webinar, but it's not just enough to build the online system. If you built Local-Line today and you engage your existing customers, it's a great start, and you'll see a little bit of organic growth from that. But to truly be successful in moving online, it does involve a little bit more than that. From the best practices, we've seen customers who use a combination of a variety of social media channels tend to be the most successful. It does take a little bit more work up front in order to optimize that. But in time, it will pay off and it will pay dividends, because when you actually send out posts through Facebook or Instagram, food takes a really good photo. When you're making those posts, you give people the option, when they're most interested in you, when they're looking at those photos and they're liking it or they're sharing it, they actually can see a link to your store and purchase right then and there from you, which is when they're most likely to actually buy from you in the first place. It's the same idea as shopping online in general for people, and why it works so well is you see an ad for something, you click on it. When you can complete that purchase right then and there, you're more likely to buy it than you would be if you had to drive to the store or drive to the market and take that additional action to purchase it. So you can get customers, you can give them a real clear call to action through your online store, through these channels, and again, funnel them into one place where it's really easy for you to manage all those orders. So you don't have to focus on the administration. You can spend a little bit more time on kind of the marketing side of it, promoting your store out to your customers, and then, of course, the bulk of your time on growing your great product. Number four. So a lot of people are really concerned, rather, that their customers are going to have a hard time adjusting to a new system, and that customer satisfaction isn't going to be there. We've actually found that the reality is the exact opposite of that. And while there are certainly a core group of customers who value that connection with their local supplier, whether it's through the market or direct to the supplier, and they like the relationship aspect of it, and that's not going to go anywhere. Those customers can still have that connection by seeing your story rather through your store. They can still message you, they can still call you, they can still show up to the farm to pick up their order and still have that connection. But again, it actually makes it more convenient for them to order on their schedule and on their time, or in the middle of the night if the mood strikes, when and where they want to order local food. They can do it from order it from you remotely, and still find that connection to you in other ways. But we see the vast majority of customers are pivoting more to focus on convenience as the key driver for behavior. So the National Retail Federation, as an example, they do a lot of research around kind of buying patterns of consumers in retail in general. And the one thing that keeps coming up is convenience is a huge driver, even more so than price, in driving consumer decisions. So while you may not be able to beat out the prices when you're competing against big box stores and grocery stores because the margins are already too low in local food, you really can level the playing field and remain competitive by adding that convenience element and having an online component, same way they have Instacart programs and delivery programs and things like that. You can set all that up and manage it through a tool like Local to engage your customers. I've got some quotes here as well from some of our existing customers, just talking about how they talked about the transition, and while initially there was some concern and it is a change for you and your customers, once they get into it, people tend to really like the convenience element of it. And rather than having to call you and find out what products you have in stock and how much inventory you have, or text and start kind of a back and forth exchange, they can simply go on the website, see it in real time, and then place their order, go about their day, all in a couple of minutes and a few clicks. And you don't even have to be there to answer the phone in order for that to happen. And last, but certainly not least, number 5, that online is a temporary thing to deal with COVID-19, and then it's back to business as usual. This is definitely not what we're seeing, because this has been a trend. COVID in many ways has actually accelerated the trend that we saw long before COVID was ever an issue, or it was ever a challenge. And that is because, again, that article I actually just showed that talked about convenience becoming more important was actually way back in January. And they've done similar studies in previous years that would indicate more and more people are looking to buy products online, including food. That being the case, COVID has forced everybody to go faster down this path, because ordering in person or going to the physical market has been obviously tough. They've had to move to online sales with curbside pickup or delivery options in many cases because there are restrictions, but just generally because consumers can be very concerned about the idea of going to a packed or crowded place. So that being the case, online is a really good way to deal with the immediate challenges of COVID. But because people are really looking for current options, local options, so that they can avoid going to the packed grocery stores, there's a lot of concern around the overall food supply chain. So if you can look at local, people are looking at local as an alternative to that. If you can find those customers now, it will be about retaining them after COVID, and keeping that convenient experience through an online ordering tool like Localine is really going to help you retain those customers long term, and to continue to sell to them. We see a lot of markets and customers buy local now through our system that have never, or were not regular local buyers before. This is kind of the first time getting into it. And again, it's all about retaining those customers over the long term, and we see online as a great way to do that. And certainly there's lots of articles out there that talk about the shift in sustainable food systems and what this will mean. In Canada, we've seen it. I know you guys have seen it in the States as well, where, as an example, an outbreak of COVID would actually shut down a meat packing plant and significantly impact the supply chain of that product. If that's the case, the one way to fight against that, the obvious one, is to focus more on local as a way to diversify the risk within the food system and minimize the amount of steps that it takes from farm to fork. So carrying right along here, in terms of some of the success stories, I'm not going to go into huge detail in these because you can find them all on our website as well as a bunch more. But
Chris, I think we lost you. Maybe try shutting down your video.
Sorry, is my internet conking out there?
You're back.
You're back.
Okay. Do you want me to stop my video? Would that make it easier?
It might. We'll see.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll look for Kim to give me a crazy wave or something if you can't hear me anymore. So yeah, as I was mentioning, we do see a lot of farmers refer to Local Line as kind of their personal assistant when it comes to a lot of that administration, because it is difficult to find people who can help support the farm and contribute that labor that is so essential to process and pick and plant and everything else that needs to be done. So you don't want to spend that time, whether it's you or an employee doing the administration. It's far better if you can do those things where you can't replace with technology and instead and focus on that and allow Local Line to take on these admin tasks. We do see also, customers like Joe at Riverbell Garden, who increased his sales by about 42% when he moved online and adopted a more flexible CSA model as well. And then, as I mentioned before, it's a really good way to kind of start that online presence and allow people who you're already interacting with through kind of social media channels to actually order from you right then and there and follow through on that call to action, which is essentially buying. So a lot of the feedback we've got, again, you can actually find all this on our website if you're interested, just to see, what do people think about the Local Line as a tool and us as a team. We take our partnership with farmers very, very seriously. We're very passionate about it. It's the utmost, we do the utmost to support our farmers in any way we can, and we try to be as flexible as possible in doing that. Out of COVID, it's been really difficult for a lot of food suppliers who have been forced to really shift their business. If they were selling primarily to wholesale, as an example, and restaurants were shutting down and weren't buying anymore, what did they do as an alternative? If they were only selling through a farmer's market that couldn't operate, how would they find customers, or how would they connect with those customers outside of that? And then how would they make their customers confident that they could still, that the food safety was top of mind for that supplier, and that, they would protect the safety of that customer as well when they're coming to get their food, or if they were getting it delivered, that kind of thing. So all those options farmers were able to do through Local Line. We saw lots of feedback where, their customers really enjoyed the experience that they got. It made ordering really easy, and that they started to actually see increased in average order sizes as well, where customers are going in and buying more products. We saw that our customer service, we went through a huge amount of growth in a short time. And our biggest concern internally was, are we still going to be able to provide the same level of care and support to each of our farmers that we work with across our entire network when we were bringing on, 500 and 600 markets across North America alone as a result of COVID, and plus thousands of suppliers on top of that. So that being the case, we're really proud to say that customer service was still top of mind for us, and we were able to kind of maintain that relationship with our farmers and make sure that they're well supported. As I mentioned, we do take this very seriously, and we want to ensure that everybody is supported, but Local Line really is designed to be easy to use, so you don't need us. You can be as independent as possible, but with that said, we are here for the things that you do need help with, whether it's simple best practices or things like, setting up your account, etc. We also launched, as I mentioned, with a number of markets and associations across North America, in a variety of states, as well as provinces. In Virginia, we actually work with FFM. We also work with Loudoun County Economic Development Council and Chesterfield Market as well, more in the southern part of the state, just to name a few. Those are a few that I've personally worked with. But I know there are others across Virginia as well. But actually, we have more customers in the US, in fact, than we do in Canada, because there's just more of you.
Hey, Chris.
Yep.
We had a question.
Absolutely.
This is from Charlotte. And they say, we are just getting started and have only 2 products. Sales at local farmers markets aren't all that great. Will this program help us reach more customers as we slowly build our farm?
That's a great question, Charlotte. I would say, there, without a doubt, it's better for your customers. Think about it from the customer perspective. If you were going to go online and shop somewhere, are you going to go online to shop for 1 or 2 products, or is it better to have a number of products where you can buy all at the same place from a convenience perspective? What we've actually seen in a lot of farms who are in a similar situation to you, that are just getting going, maybe only have a couple of things to sell, and using Local Line completely on their own, they'll actually get together with a few nearby farmers and build a co-op. There was one called Merry Meeting Kitchen in Maine that we helped get set up early on, where it was about 5 or 6 farmers who got together and did just that. And they actually, it was more cost effective for them, because that Local Line account is a little bit cheaper. But what it meant was they were all able to collaboratively market and post all of they each had their own Local Line account where they could all post products in a single online store, where customers could go on and see products not only from you, but a few other farmers as well. So it was a more complete customer buying experience. And it meant that if you were driving customers to it, and the other farmers were as well, everybody would benefit. All boats could rise together. So I would say 1 or 2 products may be difficult to be successful with your own Local Line store at this point, but that may be an option for you if you have a few other farmers in the area who you think you could collaborate with and operate that way. And let me just add on that, if I'm misanswering any question, or if you do want to follow up, please, I'll post my contact information at the end of this. Please reach out to me directly, and happy to take some of these conversations offline as well.
Thanks, Chris.
Perfect. I'll just end on this one, and this slide here is, we got this from George, and George has actually been a customer of ours for a long time. And it was a very powerful message for us. And, he believed we had helped him to single-handedly save our farm. At the end of the day, it was his blood, sweat, and tears that did it. But we were really happy to be the partner to ensure that he was still able to sell his product. So now we'll get into kind of what we're all here for, which is what is Local Line itself. So bear with me, and just got a couple more slides to go through before we actually jump into the tool directly. Again, just to reiterate, farmers, there's a lot of the challenges that we see farmers struggle with or be faced with is it does take a long time in taking orders, whether it's text, phone call, email, Facebook message, smoke signal, carrier pigeon, whatever it may be. When you start that exchange back and forth with every customer, it's a long time to handle a single order, let alone if you have multiple orders a day, times tens of orders a week or hundreds of orders a week, and then over the course of the month and the year. So if you can have a system handle all of that for you, how much time are you going to save? And that flows directly into tracking inventory as well, because you want to ensure that your inventory is up to date, regardless of what channel your customers are coming to you from, or whether they're a wholesale buyer and they're buying by the crate, or they're a retail buyer and they're buying by the pound. You want to make sure that your inventory is up to date and customers don't buy something that you don't have in stock, and Local Line can track that for you. But then when it comes to fulfilling orders and figuring out, okay, what do I need to pick from the greenhouse or the field today? What do I need to pack in specific orders? We give you all the reporting as well to make that a whole lot easier. And then when it comes to collecting payments from customers, we can get into the more specifics of this in a little bit. But it's making sure that you've got the flexible options so that if your customers want to pay with cash or check and you want to give them that option, you can. If you want to do credit card or things like that, that's easy to do as well. And we'll go through that too. And then lastly is there are a few things that, as I mentioned before, it's not just about setting the system up online and people automatically find you, but there are a few tools built right within Localine to help make that marketing aspect a lot easier for you and to automate some of it. And I'll touch upon that as well. And when farmers do use Localine and when we find the ones who do put that little bit of extra effort in, they do see an increase in sales overall by about 42%. Some of that comes from selling more to your existing customers and retaining those customers. Other aspects of it come from kind of that organic growth and accelerating those channels to find new customers as well. If it's online, it's also easier for your existing customers to share that link to their friends and family as well. So I would definitely encourage them to do so to help make it easier for them, those other people, to find you and order from you. Error reduction can be a big challenge as well. You want to make sure every customer gets exactly what they ordered, what they were looking for. And when you're doing it in Post-it notes or Excel spreadsheets, which is not what you love to spend your time doing anyway, it is prone to errors, and that's where mistakes can happen. And that causes a bad customer experience and certain frustration on your end. So to eliminate that, Localine really helps to streamline and ensure it's all accurate. And then lastly is just save a ton of time in all the administration that goes with this. If you could have 14 hours back in your week, what would that mean for you? What would that mean for your family? And then lastly, just kind of before we jump in here to the actual platform, I want to show I always get this question too is, what does the Localine look like from the customer experience? And we'll jump into this. But what I want to illustrate on this slide here are there are lots of different options. If you have a website already, no worries. You can what we call embed Localine into it, or essentially take like a snapshot of Localine and put it right into your existing website. So from your customer's experience, it looks like it's all the same website to them. Or you could just link out to it, as some farms do. Or if you don't have a website at all and you just want kind of the bare bones Localine standalone store and plug it into your social media, that's not a problem. But if you are looking to build a website as well, we also have a free website builder option that you can use, and I'll get into the details of that a little bit later. Still seeing my screen here. So I've jumped over to Naturally Nutritious, or I've got Brad here from Echo Valley Ranch. Can you see that, Kim? Okay, perfect. All right, thanks. So we've got Brad, as I mentioned. Brad here is a grass-fed beef farmer. He's got a few different types of meats, and he's got maple syrup and a few other products as well. So he is Canadian. But what I wanted to show his farm for is he actually built this website with our free website builder. So if you do have the time and the effort and you want to kind of build out more, think of the website as the wrapper around the package, and the package itself being the actual online store. And you don't necessarily need the wrap around the package to make the online store work. But in this case, he went the extra mile, built this really attractive website out, and actually embedded his Localine store on it. And it looks like this. So he's got some maple syrup posted. He doesn't have any meat products listed right now, but you can see this is what the actual order experience looks like. So as a customer, I can go in. It's really easy to search and look by category. He's out of stock in grass-fed beef at the moment, but I can search by category. Or I can search by all products, scroll through, add them to my cart, or search if I'm looking through a lot of products, and then complete the checkout process and pay with credit card, or select cash or check payment options, or things like that. The idea here is this is not really any different than what customers would experience in buying online from Walmart or Amazon or anywhere else. The idea is that it's very reminiscent of that, so that people get the idea. It's a convenient, intuitive experience, and again, makes it easier on your customers to go in and order from you. To show you what a standalone experience looks like. So this is Arlington Market with the Fresh Farm Group. So they've got, and we do have versions of Local Line that work better for markets. We've got an account type that works better for hubs as well. I mean, our core business is still to this date is the individual suppliers, and that's what we're focused on today. But again, if you have any follow-up questions on how it can work for markets and how suppliers with their individual Local Line account can plug that into an online market or things like that, then please follow up with me. I'm happy to chat about that as well. But the idea again here is that, it's a really easy ordering experience. And if I'm a market per se, I want to go in and actually filter by supplier and find my favorite supplier and order from them. Or if I want to actually just look at my favorite supplier, see their bio, their logo or a photo that they add in, as well as their contact information, all of that connection to the supplier still exists from the customer. Really convenient, easy to use from the customer's perspective. Kind of that, again, Amazon-like functionality where your product may have come from different places, but I'm ordering it all from the same place. So to the question that was posed earlier, doing it like a co-op, you could set it up like this, where you've got multiple different suppliers that exist here, all posting products in the same place, so that the customer can go in and it's really convenient one-stop shopping for them. And then lastly is, Steve here, he's quite a character. I know you're not supposed to have favorite customers, but he's got to be one of mine. He's a bowl full of laughs, but Steve here actually runs his CSAs as well as his wholesale and his retail business all through Local Line. And he's been with us for about 6-8 months now, and he's got a standalone store, but does a really good job of plugging Local Line into his social media channels and driving traffic that way. He's saved a ton of time in administration when it comes to dealing with his existing customers, and he's actually seen a few new customers as well join a CSA program because what Local Line has allowed him to do is to add more flexibility and more options to his customers when he launched his CSA. So it's no longer just you get what you get. He's opened up different product options for his customers, which has driven more people to stick with the CSA model and even driven more customers to it. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the back end of Local Line. So now we're jumping into a demo environment. So if anything looks a little bit funny, you'll kind of know why. But what I want to go through here is the details of how to set up your account. So if you go to our website, on the upper right-hand corner, there's a link that says start your free trial. You can just click on that at the end of this webinar and start it up, see what you think, kick the tires. Again, if you do have any questions throughout that process, please reach out to us. We're always happy to help answer any questions. But what I want to do today is make sure you've got a good understanding. So once you get into that trial, you know what to do as well. 2 things I'm going to point out at this point that really are designed within the system to help you with that is one, what we call our inline manual. So you'll notice here in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, there's a feedback button right here, as well as this need help on the bottom right-hand side of my screen. And then when you first go in and create your account and getting it set up, you'll actually see a couple orange buttons in various different places around the screen. If you click on those, they are in-app or in-website guides that will actually walk you through essentially what I'm about to walk you through today. So don't worry when you don't remember 90% of what I'm talking about. The inline manual is there to help walk you through that step by step. And if that isn't sufficient, the other thing you can do is go to our knowledge base, which is again in the upper right hand corner here where this question mark is, where you can go in and find any answers to the most frequently asked questions that we get. Everything from, again, best practices to some technical support to uploading photos to, product uploads and that kind of thing. And if none of those work, that's where our support line is. We've got our support team that can always be reached via email or phone call, even on evenings and weekends for urgent requests that are always happy to help you out. So what we're seeing here is kind of the main dashboard of Local Line, which just gives you that high level snapshot of the system, who's placing an order from you, who's looking at what, etc., and as well as some high level numbers in terms of how many products you have available, how many customers you have in the system, and then how many orders have you seen so far this month. Of course, we can dig into each of these or all the details here as we move across the tabs in the top. So starting out in the My Store tab, we've got all the products listed here. So we've got CSA shares and just regular products. So if I go in and I've got broccoli microgreens, I can actually go in and just add in or update a photo here. Generally speaking, like I said, food does take a good photo, and I would highly, highly encourage you to make sure you do add a photo to every product that you have listed, even if it's not your products, but if it's just a regular stock photo from somewhere online. We do have a few free databases that we can provide to you as well that you can find those. It really does help to promote and market your product. The stats show definitively that people are are significantly less likely rather to buy a product if it doesn't have a photo. So having a photo is really going to increase the chances that people actually buy it from you. But then when it comes to the description here, is not just add in an idea of what the product is or a nutritional description of it, but this example right here. So to eat, throw them on a sandwich, blend them into a dip or smoothie, or just eat them raw. Choices are endless. What this really helps your customers understand is once I buy it, how do I cook it or eat it to make it taste good? Because you really want it to taste good. You want them to enjoy it, so they keep coming back and they order it again and again. They tell their friends and their family about it, and then you start to get more of that, pun intended, word of mouth marketing. So the idea is there are subtle but important ways you can actually use this to not only list your product availability, but to actually promote it and encourage people to buy it. This little trick here about the description as to how to eat it and make it taste good works particularly well for products that are not as well known, like microgreens, and it's not as obvious as to what you as a customer would do with it if you weren't familiar with it. More functionally speaking, you can make products taxable or not. If you just check this box, Local Line is going to automatically attach a tax rate to the product based on your local tax rate, and there's a tool in the back end of Local Line that you won't see that does that for you. But if for whatever reason you need to override it with a manual tax rate, you have the ability to do that within the settings of the system. And then within inventory, you do have the option to either track inventory or not, up to you, depending on what you want to, or the nature of your product. Microgreens producers, as an example, don't always track inventory because they're producing it so frequently that it's almost more hassle than what it's worth to track it. So they turn that feature off. But in most cases, I would definitely recommend, as a best practice, to track your inventory, if for no other reason than to make sure your customers don't buy a product that you don't have in stock. Creates a bad experience for them. Nobody wants to have to make that phone call to the customer to say, I don't actually have this in stock. And again, you can actually, regardless of what package size you create for your customers, so if you're selling it by per ounce, or if you're selling it by an 8-ounce bag, or by a flat, or a crate, or by the ton, it will all pull from the same inventory pool, regardless of who the customer is that that's buying it, or what package size that they're buying. You've only got 1,000 pounds of potatoes to sell. The system will only allow you to sell 1,000 pounds of potatoes in whatever configuration. One thing we often get is from people is to say, well, what if I oversell? Well, as a best practice to prevent that is be conservative about your inventory estimates, and then set this notification. So if I only have 10 ounces, let's say, When the system reads that I only have 10 ounces of this product left, or whatever the base unit is, I want it to send me an email notification to ensure that I can go in and update my inventory. I can check in the store, in the warehouse, or in the field, and validate that in fact I do have this amount of product left, to prevent that from ever being an issue. The idea is you want the system to flag this for you before you before you either run out online when you actually still have product to sell, or before the system sells product that you don't actually have in stock. And then just lastly here is we've got, you can enable some seasonality, strawberries being a perfect example of something that is very seasonal. It's only in and out in a matter of weeks. So that being the case, you may want to turn this on so that the system knows to only make strawberries available at that certain time. But if you just need a manual override to turn a product on or off for whatever reason, you can simply do that with this toggle here. So really, uploading products is just as easy as filling out these few fields, and then telling the system what price you want to charge and for what quantity. I'll just make a quick note as well, as if you do have a list of products already in an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Doc or something like that, you don't have to go through and add in products one at a time. You can actually upload them via spreadsheet, which makes things a lot faster and is a big time saver. The only thing you will have to do is go back in and add in photos on a one-on-one basis, but still overall, you're going to save a lot of time doing it that way. I know another question that often comes up is, okay, how do I adjust prices or quantities or inventories after the fact? No problem. To adjust prices, simply go back in, click edit, and then to the field that we were just in, and you can adjust those. Or if you need to update your inventory, you can work down this list and then type in the new inventory, or use the plus minus buttons to adjust as you get more crop or more product. In the catalog section, this is where you can manage all of your different customer lists. So this is where you can separate out your public retail or consumer catalog customer list from your CSA customers, which is different from your wholesale customers or your restaurant customers. And the way that works is you can add in products or even adjust prices that are specific to a certain customer list. Or if you want only a certain package size, like by the crate as an example, to be available to your wholesale customers, where you want to limit your retail customers to buy by the pound, you can do that as well in this section and have complete control over that, or apply discounts to specific groups, things like that. The other thing you can do is edit customers and actually have control over which customers have access to which price lists. And then configure specific payment options if it's pay now or pay later, or as I'll show you a little bit later, some updates that we have coming to this section in terms of what other payment options you can make available within Local Line, or how soon you want that payment to be due. One feature I really want to point out here that is really well used and is definitely a best practice is what we call our catalog schedule. So this is where you can actually set a weekly or monthly at whatever frequency. You can even make it multiple times a week if you like. Send out an email reminder to your customers with a link to your store, just to go back in and place that order again. I mean, the great thing about food is everybody needs to eat 3 times a day, 7 days a week. So driving customer retention and repeat customers is going to be a big part of any successful food supply business. So that being the case, you can use this automated catalog schedule to gently remind your customers to go in, make that order, and buy from you. So adding in payment options as well is very easy to do. So you can go to online payments. Obviously, you'll want to select the US dollar. Unless you want to take a 35% discount on everything. But you can plug in your existing Square or Stripe account to actually act as a credit card processor. And what that will do is it will just mean that any payments you receive via credit card through Local Line will go into your Square or Stripe account respectively and get deposited into your bank account through the way that it normally would. We do find a lot of market customers, as an example, use Square, which is why we've opted to partner with them and connect with them, so you can still continue to use the same payment system. And there are actually more integrations we have coming in the near future with Square as well, including a POS integration and things like that. So your inventory will sync between the two systems if you're taking an in-person order at the market versus an online order through Local Line. So you don't have to reconcile your online versus in-person inventory at the end of the day. On deliveries and pickups, deliveries have certainly become more popular out of COVID as a convenience option for your customers. So what Local Line allows you to do is create as many different delivery plans or pickup locations as you'd like, and put some restrictions around it in terms of minimum purchase. What's the minimum purchase you want to restrict your customers to? Do you want to attach a delivery fee or give them free delivery if they order a certain amount? Is there a question?
Chris?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. Does this allow you to take EBT or other SNAP benefits or other alternative payments?
Yeah, great question, Michael. So the answer is kind of. So the USDA doesn't actually allow EBT payments to occur online, with the exception of they just granted licenses to Amazon and Walmart. So there is no system out there like Local Line that will allow you to accept EBT online. Instead, what we have done is we've actually allowed customer, or it's actually being released later this week, is allowing food suppliers or markets to create EBT as an option where a customer could select that and then simply pay in person at the market the way they normally do, which is, my understanding is traditionally it's through some sort of a market box program or, excuse me, on-site system that handles the EBT dollars. So there is a way to allow for EBT payment, absolutely, but it won't forward to you the same way a credit card payment would.
Okay.
So hopefully, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it does. And is there alternate ways in terms of paying besides the Stripe and the Square? Can you use your PayPal or your Venmo or your Google or Apple Pay? Or is it pretty much that POS system from Square? And
yeah, good question. At this point, it's just limited for credit card payments. It's just limited to Square and Stripe. Not to say that it's not possible to do it with other systems, whereas you could do kind of a manual workaround, create PayPal as an example as a payment option within Local Line, but it's not, whereas Stripe and Square is going to allow people to pay with credit card right away. If you selected for them to pay with PayPal, you'd have to send them a manual invoice to do that. And that would take a lot of time on your end. So it's not recommended. I mean, the best way to do it is definitely through Square and Stripe.
Good. Are you able to send text reminders to customers through the program?
There isn't text reminders, but there's email notifications. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming with the same thing as the SNAP as it is with EBT in terms of how you can proceed with that?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Perfect. Another one of those features that are really handy for farmers and food suppliers is this lead time aspect, which is where you can actually set up and say, okay, if I'm not Amazon, I can't do same day or next day delivery. I need so many days or hours of advance notice of an order before I can fulfill it, whether it's for pickup or delivery. If that's the case, you can go in and add in and say, if I need 2 full days or 48 hours, I can select weekly and say, if I'm going to do this delivery on Saturdays, 48 hours would mean that the latest the customer could order for delivery on Saturday would be Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Obviously, you can adjust that to be whatever time frame suits you, but it just ensures that you're not going to get that customer ordering on Friday night at 11 o'clock when you're heading out Saturday morning to do your delivery route. And then the last aspect to kind of this delivery plan and pickup option side is you can actually create these custom checkout messages as well. So just some information that you need to communicate to your customers. Oftentimes, it's something like, expect delivery generally between 9 and 11 a.m. or something like that. So the options for delivery and pickup are the same in terms of how you configure it. Really, the only difference is while every customer will see pickup locations as an option and can select from the pickup location that best suits them, whether it's on farm, at a market, or at a community center pickup location, something like that. But only customers who live within your delivery areas will actually see delivery as an option. So rest assured, I can't order from you in rural Ontario and expect you to deliver all the way up here. That just won't happen within Local Line. It's only people who live within the local towns that you've created a delivery plan for. And then lastly, in this section, we've got our route planner, which is the ability to go in and once you've got your deliveries, you need to make deliveries for a particular day. What's the most efficient way to deliver them? And we've got a plugin with Google that will actually find you the most efficient route. So if I've got, let's say we've got Michael out driving today, then I can drag and drop all the different orders that I want Michael to deliver and then go find route. And then Google will find us the most efficient way to actually make that delivery. And then I can send the route to Michael specifically via email, which will show up on his phone, and then he can pull it up on his phone GPS. Last couple things I'm going to touch on quickly in this component of the presentation is just on the kind of the CRM side or the customer management aspect of Local Line, where you can see all of your existing customers. You can log orders on their behalf if you need to. You can view their past order history or change their information, essentially giving you a kind of a high-level overview of who your customers are and what are they buying from you. As well as what catalog or what price lists are they attached to. And to make it easy, again, if you need to upload a bunch of customers into the system to get going because you've already got a list all ready to go, so that they don't have to go in and actually create their own accounts, you can simply upload customers by filling in an Excel spreadsheet and then getting it uploaded into the system as well. And then the last tab I'm going to focus on today is just in the orders. And this is really where the exciting part is, where you get to see all the different orders that have come in from your customers and through the different channels. And you can manage them and pull the reporting that's going to help you save even more time when it comes to those pick lists or pack lists, downloading invoices or order summaries or whatever you need in order to manage your business effectively. Or you can also view specific orders at this point and actually make changes to them if you need to. So you can add a product, change from delivery to pickup, change the price if you need to, which you could do for variable weighted products such as meats that you need to adjust, things of that nature. But what this reporting section allows you to do is actually go in and select the criteria that you want to narrow it down. So let's say I wanted to do all the orders that I'm delivering on during this particular week. I want to pull them up. So I'm going to narrow my date range down. Then I'm going to select all by selecting this little button right here. Local Line is then going to aggregate those all for me, and I can simply just select the order type or the report type rather that I'm looking for. So the two most common ones we see are the download the pick list, and there's two different types. There's kind of a detailed one, which aggregates it and then breaks it down by specific customer order as well. Or there's the summary pick list, which just literally gives you the total amount of product of each type of product within that selected order range. So based on what your process is, that's really going to help consolidate what you literally have to go out to the field or the greenhouse to pick for orders for that particular week. The other one would be the download invoices, where you can download all of your invoices into a single PDF document, which then you can simply hit print once, print all those invoices off, use them as kind of your pack sheets, and then attach them to the outside of the package as that label, so you can ensure that every package gets to where it's supposed to go. So that's a fairly high level run through at this point, but before I kind of jump back into the last little part of the presentation, why don't I stop here? Michael, are there any other kind of specific platform questions that I didn't answer?
No, not as of yet. No other questions on it.
Perfect. Okay. So hopefully that gives you all a sense of, you know, how easy it is to set up the system itself. You know, now I want to talk a little bit more about some of the best practices. We also, within Local Line, we collect feedback from not only suppliers like yourselves, from markets, but also from your customers in terms of what they like and don't like about the system. That really helps us to build a better tool for you and for your customers to continuously improve Local Line. But we also like to pass a lot of that feedback as is relevant on to the farmers so that you guys can make changes within your own business, even subtle ones, to improve that customer experience at the end of the day. So one thing we really encourage you to do, as I mentioned several times, is add a Shop Now button to your Facebook page, or in general, share Local Line or share your online store or market through your social channels as much as possible. It's not always just about posting individual products, but you could just post things like, you know, a topical joke or something like that, just to regularly and consistently engage your customers. It could be something more family related. You know, farming often is a family run business, so to highlight that, it tells a really nice story. But then you can also give people that link as well as part of that post to allow them to go on see what products you have available at that particular time and order from you. That Shop Now button that you can add into your Facebook page works really, really well at converting, you know, your Facebook followers into actual buying customers from you. So as I said, generally share your links via social media, because that's where you're interacting with people. That's when they're most interested and most likely to buy. Go ahead, Michael.
Chris, can you, I guess, share more of the importance or even some of the highlights of sharing your story? You mentioned that several times, and, you know, I know you mentioned it because you see the value of it. So can you kind of give me some examples of how to best do it? Because some people may not value their story in the same way that you may see their story.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the beauty of local food is that it's a passion for a lot of people, right? You do what you do because you're passionate about it, and that is really your story. And why do you do organic or grass-fed beef, or why do you and your family do what you do day in and day out, you know, through your blood, sweat, and tears? I think that's a powerful story that really connects with a lot of consumers, is they want to be more connected with where their food is ultimately coming from. They want to be confident in, you know, for a variety of reasons that they choose to buy, that the person who they're buying from shares their same value set. Now that appeals to a lot of and a growing base of customers, although, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention not every customer is going to necessarily really want to know your story, and that's okay. Then I look at it this way, Michael, is it doesn't take much for you to tell your story online. You know, whether it's a short video that you post online of you and your family talking about your operation, if it's just you writing out a paragraph or two and adding in a couple of photos to make it a little bit more attractive. And maybe I can show you a couple examples of this in a minute that do it really, really well. That's easy to do. It's going to appeal to a lot of your customers. For the customers that aren't as interested in that, that's okay. because your online store is still going to exist where they can just go directly to the shop now option, which is why it's so important to have your store available there for those who want it. And that's going to influence their decision to buy from you the first time. But then in the future, when they want to come back, or if it's a customer who's less interested in that background, they can find that shop now button and go directly to where the products are. So I guess it's a way of presenting your farm and your operation in a way that appeals to a variety of different customers based on what they are looking for and what they're looking to get out of their buying experience from you.
Thank you.
Perfect. And then another one is, as I mentioned in the demo, is make sure you do send your catalogs out to customers. Again, a really well used feature, really does drive higher customer retention or repeat customers to come back and order from you multiple times. If they ordered from you last week and they really like the food, chances are they're going to order again as well. And then lastly is print your promotional signage. If you are still going to an in-person market, you can use Local Line to actually as a pre-order system for that particular market and list that market as a pickup location. So why not advertise your store to customers? What we see a lot of market customers really like this for is, if I'm not going to make it to the market until noon because I'm busy that particular morning, I can pre-order online to ensure I'm still going to get the products that I want, that they're not going to be picked through, and there will still be something left for me. So that's a big win to that particular customer. And the suppliers on the flip side get more predictability as to what exactly you need to take to the market for that particular week. As well as, I should mention again that if the market, we do have probably about 600 markets across North America who do use Local Line to sell as well, and have a market account where they plug in all the suppliers into one ordering place as well. And then you can, again, similarly use promotional signage to just make your customers aware that online pre-ordering is an option, and it's a great way to ensure you get the products that you're looking for. So just to show you a little bit more what these specific options look like. So where this send message button is, you can actually change that to shop now. As an example, within Facebook, you can post, food does take a great photo. So make sure if you have an Instagram account, which I would highly recommend, great place again to tell your story. Michael, to your point, post pictures of the family doing what you do, or when harvest starts. People really do like that connection and seeing what's going on. And it's a non-salesy way of selling. It's a good way of interacting with your customers, telling that story, but just kind of nudging them along to say, hey, don't forget about us, that now we're kind of in harvesting season and we do have products available again, because people are often asking those questions. And Twitter, of course, as well, is make sure you add in your online links. So it doesn't matter what channel what social media or marketing channel you're using, they can always find you and find the link to your store quickly to view the products you have available and make that order. And these are, I showed the slide a little bit earlier, but these are the three main social media channels that we've seen be most effective. I would definitely put emphasis on Instagram and Facebook being the top two. Twitter can be a little bit hit and miss, but Instagram and Facebook, absolutely. And as I mentioned, use that catalog feature. So just in terms of some of the feedback we've got from customers, is we do recommend, from a customer convenience standpoint, that you add in more than one pickup location. We've seen that feedback from customers a lot, that they do want to have multiple different options if it's kind of far away to travel to your farm stand, or if there's limited hours that it's available. Maybe I can find you at a market. Maybe there's a pickup location you can do once a week at a local community center parking lot or something like that. Or, work collaboratively with other farmers, again, in that co-op model, to do kind of a central pickup location where as a customer, can order from multiple different farms and go to one location to get products from all those different farms. So in terms of what's coming to Local Line, and this is kind of where I'll end off. First, I want to quickly walk you through our process as to how we continuously improve our system. So first, we discover, or we're looking for challenges that our farmers face, whether it's within Local Line or outside of Local Line, that we can help alleviate some of those issues and make life a little bit easier. So make life easier for you and help you save even more time, make it more intuitive, but certainly for your customers as well, is make it as easy as possible for them to find and buy from you to help you drive more customer retention and sales. Then as we look to define that problem and what it means for our system as well, we'll design a solution to solve that particular challenge. Then we'll take it back out to our customers and say, hey, what do you think about this? Did we get it right? Did we miss the mark? You know, what do you like and not like about it? And then we develop the final solution and then launch it out. So this is a constant and continuous process that we have going on, and we've got a system to help us manage this. But we really do thrive on customer feedback, and that really helps us build a better tool, because at the end of the day, you know, we do what we do for you as farmers. So who better to help us drive, you know, the changes and updates we give to our platform than you. Some of the buyer insights that we've got that may be helpful to you guys is to not, even though you can do it in Local Line, resist the need to put in pickup fees. It would be the same as if I went to a farm and bought groceries, or sorry, if I went to the grocery store and had to pay to get in the grocery store, that'd be a really odd experience. So we have seen some farmers add in pickup fees. We discourage that as much as possible. Recognize that you have to do what's right for your business, but as a best practice, it does tend to rub customers the wrong way. So avoid using that feature unless you absolutely have to. Number two is make sure you do have flexible payment options, which I'll show you in a moment, kind of what we're working on to make that even easier. And then lastly is store and product availability. So from the question earlier again, is if you can add in a few more products, if you can complement it with products from other suppliers, that's really going to help the customers to have a more holistic experience. And they don't want to buy just, you know, 2 different items from their online store. If they can buy 5 or 6 or 10, you know, that's really going to keep them coming back to the same place. Which takes me to this option, and this is actually being released later this week. So it's hot off the presses. There's very few people who are even aware of this in our customer base yet, so you guys are getting a sneak peek. But the idea here is that you'll be able to, right now, it's kind of a pay now or pay later option within the Local Line, where you can set it up so that they pay now via credit card, or they can pay later via cash or other method. This just allows you as the supplier to set it up and make it a little bit more clear to the customers what options. If you want to do, give them the option to pay with cash or pay with e-transfer or with credit card or with EBT, you simply create the different payment options, list them here, then the customer selects that option and then takes the action based on the instructions that you provide. So if it was EBT as an example, then you could add in the instructions to, you know, if it's EBT, when you go to the market, here's the EBT stand, you know, to get your market bucks, etc. Or if it was e-transfer, you know, please send e-transfers to this email address, that kind of thing. Or if it was credit card, it would take them right to the credit card payment page, and then they can pay right away. So a couple more things that are coming is, we know this is part of, which I'll show you in a second, more of a storefront refresh. So we are in the process right now of redesigning what the look and feel of Local Line, to update it, make it a little bit more intuitive as well for your customers, and create an even better experience. One of those things is being able to list out of stock items, so that you may not have it right now, but if you want customers to be aware that it is coming soon, or select this option where they can notify me when it's in stock, when you go in and add in tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes in this case, and update this inventory, the system will automatically send that customer a note and saying, hey, this item is back in stock. So you may want to go in and purchase it while it's here. Get it while it's fresh. We do have store credits feature as well now. It's currently in its beta stage, or it's kind of in the just testing. But what that means is you'll be able to issue store credit to customers as well to help run like CSA programs and buy down programs and things like that, to make it easier for your customers so that they can, or other promotional programs where they can go in. You can add in store credit for them, and then they can go in and pay with that store credit in the future. And then lastly here is we are in the process, as I mentioned, of refreshing or updating the storefront design in Local Line to optimize it both for the customer experience in general, so that it's an even more attractive experience. It's more intuitive. It's easier to search and find the products that you're looking for, and the sizes you're looking for, and for the mobile as well, as even more than half of the internet usage these days is actually done from a mobile device. So if you don't optimize for mobile, you're really potentially missing out on sales. And last but not least, before I shut up and take some questions, is the pricing. I'm sure you're all wondering, okay, Chris, what's the rub? What does it all cost? You can find all of this information on our website. I have the monthly listing, or the prices listed here. You can actually sign up for an annual or a semi-annual subscription, in which case it gets a little bit cheaper. But our website builder, which is again, that wraparound the package, if you did want to build out that website as a way to tell your story, you can use our free website builder. And for the Local Line kind of basic single catalog or single customer group, that would be $60 per month, and it gets you virtually everything that we've gone through today. And gets you that exact experience. But if you are a wholesale, or if you're a hub rather, or a market, there are different pricing models and slightly different account types that appeal to you. So again, if you want to know what those differences are, please reach out. I'm happy to kind of take that offline. But just so you are aware, we do have products or service offerings that cater to that particular market as well. The nice thing about Local Line is it is all interchangeable. So if you are an individual supplier, you can plug your Local Line account into a hub or into a market and participate in them as well, and have it all pull from your same inventory pool. Go ahead, Michael.
I was going to ask a question in chat. So the cost is a flat fee per month versus a percentage of sales?
Yeah, great question. And it's something I wanted to point out here as well, is it's a flat fee. What you see is there's no hidden fees, there's no startup costs, there's no fees on sales. Our general philosophy has always been, unless we get you the sale, unless we bring you the customer to you, we are not entitled to a commission on that sale. So we try to keep our pricing model as consistent as possible, so you can sell as much as you like in the system and it won't cost you a dime more. The only fees you're going to have to be aware of course, are your Stripe or Square credit card processing fees and whatever they charge respectively. But Local Line does not believe in charging a percentage on sales, because it was your hard work that got that customer and got the sale at the end of the day. We were just the tool to help you make that a lot easier and more efficient.
Yeah. And is this the same price for Canadians as it is for Americans?
Yeah, we charge in local currency for both audiences. So it's you're looking at it in for US, you're looking at USD. So that really concludes kind of the formal part of my presentation. So if there are any other questions at this point that you wanted to run through, Michael, or from the audience at large, happy to answer them now. Again, if you prefer to take them offline, you can reach out to us at info@localline.ca. And I'm sure I'll track down anybody who comes from this webinar. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, thank you for your time, Chris. And it's great information you shared with us about Local Line. Can you share a little bit more about the producers only having to register once and then use it across their platforms like the farm store, farmers markets, etc.?
Yeah, great question. So for markets, as an example, there are a lot of markets who will set up an account where they can connect to individual suppliers who already have existing Local Line accounts, and meaning that it will pull in all of their product lists and inventory into that central market store, so that if I'm a customer of that market, I will go to that market store and I'll see products from each of those individual suppliers. And the supplier won't have to do any additional work to manage that account beyond what they were doing before to manage that individual Local Line account. So it's a long way of saying you can connect in your Local Line account into as many different Local Line hubs or markets as you like, and manage it all from one place, so that you don't have to set up additional accounts and manage additional inventory or additional price lists or things like that. With that said, if for whatever reason you need to only have a different product list from one market versus another, you do have that option where you can limit what products you want to post on each of those markets.
Very good.
Anything else?
So a farmer only has to have one account, and you can use that one account to do, would it be farm stands, online, etc.?
Yeah, correct. So if you're running your CSA, if you're running your wholesale business, if you're connected to a bunch of different markets, you can create or add in multiple different catalogs and manage each of those customer groups all within the same system, right? So again, it all pulls from your same inventory pool. So you're doing it all in one account. You don't have to create multiple accounts to sell through Local Line in multiple different ways.
Cool. Well, does anyone else have any more questions?
There's one from Pam came in to me instead of to everyone, but explain the per catalog part again, please.
Sure. So think of the catalogs as a price list. It's probably more commonly referred to as that. A price or a catalog for us is a specific customer group. So the most common example is if I've got 20 wholesale customers that I'm selling to, that I want to give them exclusive access to a particular product and price list. Or oftentimes I'm selling larger package sizes at a lower price per unit, and I don't want my everyday retail or market customer to be able to see that option. So what you can do is you create a second catalog for that group of customers where you lock it down, only they have access to it, you can control who gets to see it, and then you can have your public catalog, which would be your everyday retail buyer, the farmer or the buyer who can find you online through your Facebook page, pick up at the farm, pick up at the market, that kind of thing. What it also allows you to do is if you do want to run your CSA through Local Line, something like that, and again, you want to have different restrictions on what you give to your CSA customers in terms of pricing or product lists or things like that, you can lock that down so only your CSA shareholders or your CSA customers can have access to it. So, hopefully that's clear as mud, but essentially think of it as a way to separate each of your customer groups out so that they only see the products and price lists and package sizes that you want them to have access to.
Gotcha. Thank you for that answer. Any other questions? All right, Chris, but again, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing this impactful and amazing presentation. We want to definitely get you on again and allow you to share more, maybe in the next season in fall or in the springtime when individuals will come back again, looking to sell their produce online. So thank you again for your time and everything you provided for us. Please enjoy the weather in Canada. Hopefully it's a little cooler up there than it is down here.
Yeah, it's about 26 degrees Celsius at the moment. I'm not up to date on my conversion,
That's hot.
so you have to convert it to Fahrenheit for me. But thank
That's
you,
about
Michael.
90.
Okay, there you go. So that's pretty warm. But really appreciate the opportunity. Again, feel free to reach out, info@localline.ca, or you can call us as well through that line. Happy to speak with anybody directly, whether it's an association looking at doing something statewide or a market or individual suppliers as well. And it looks like we've ended right on time, so I'll stop there.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris. Next, we have Mary
right.
Delicate to provide a summary of our workshop here. And Mary provides marketing services, website design, and trainings like this one to help farmers markets become more economically sustainable. She's also worked with online local food markets for over 10 years, giving me a great deal of experience with online farm sales and distribution. So, Ms. Mary.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Chris. That was really a great overview of your product. And I just wanted to summarize some of the key highlights that stood out to me from what Chris has said. And then also I used their free trial and clicked around the system and really took note of some of the interesting things that they have. I noticed that LocalLine's easy to set up. Adding the products and the pickup locations feels very intuitive to me. I didn't have any trouble understanding what to do next. I liked that. And as I said, they give you a 7-day free trial, so you can log on and test out the controls yourself. Once you sign up with them, as Chris mentioned, there's a flat monthly fee, and they don't take a percentage of your sales, which is different from many other platforms. LocalLine lets farmers set up their own farm store and also share inventory across multiple markets and multiple pickup locations. You can use LocalLine to create your farm's website, or if you've already got a website, you can embed the LocalLine store into that site. I liked that you're able to set up the different catalogs and provide custom product lists to, say, your retail customers, and then another one to wholesale customers. I thought that was a nice feature. Oops. Sorry about that. LocalLine has some key settings that you can fine tune to suit your own situation. For example, when you're setting up the pickup locations, you can designate the order deadlines and any minimum order requirements. And then you can add delivery fees, and you can change that by location. You can choose whether customers pay you online or pay you later, say at the farmer's market, using cash or check or EBT. And the system helps you route your deliveries to your various drop spots. I was thinking about market managers when I saw, when Chris told me that Stripe payments go directly, this is for markets, Stripe payments go directly into their vendors' accounts instead of coming into one market account. This reduces their administrative time of the market manager. They don't have to go and process payments back to the vendors later. Also, one thing Chris mentioned to me was that they're working on an integration with Square, which is pretty exciting and could certainly save some time and headaches for farmers later. some things that I don't think Chris mentioned, but I noticed on the website that I thought was that was kind of nice additions were these free tools and resources. Of course, they have demo videos and instructions, but they also have cost calculators like price increase calculators, delivery cost calculators, minimum order, and some downloadable guides that are helpful for you know, sort of overviews of farm marketing and online food sales. They have some helpful tips, kind of like which Chris shared during the presentation. And before we end this, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about the future of online sales. You know, the pandemic, it's having a long-lasting impact, or I expect it to have long-lasting impact on the food industry. One of the effects is the growth of the online shopping. And pre-COVID, online food shopping was already growing. It was growing at a fairly fast pace. However, online shopping doubled its share of food retail spending during the pandemic. And previously, online shoppers were they were trying to save time, save money, but now they're looking to, you know, they're motivated by safety, which is a big motivator. And, you know, as cases spike in your area and customers continue to, their customers are going to continue to move to the more perceived, safer sourcing. And that absolutely includes online ordering for farmers markets and farm stands and online food hubs. And we've noticed that this isn't, before online shopping was, you know, mostly the urban millennial families. But now with COVID-19, it's brought older generations and households without children. And the experts are predicting that this will continue to spread to all types of households and consumers. But even after the threat of COVID-19 subsides, I would definitely encourage you to consider maintaining your online sales channel. I know that many farmers have already found that it helps give them a better idea of what to bring to market. But it's, you know, because it's nice to know what you're, you know, what you've sold, or what you know, what you've already sold. And that's absolutely convenient for the farmer, but it's also very convenient for the consumer to know that, you know, if they show up at 11 a.m., they're still going to get eggs, you know, because they've pre-ordered and made that reservation. And is more and more the customers discover the convenience of online ordering, we're going to find that they're going to want to continue doing this beyond the coronavirus. And I am absolutely not saying that this in any way replaces the value of in-person connections, you know, what we get at the farmers markets and farm visits. I am not recommending that you stop that. You know, if that's working for you and you're, you know, able to connect with people and let them know they're farmers. But the online sales platform is another tool. It's an additional tool that will just give you added flexibility for your future. And I am talking about even if there's no other pandemic in our future. If you decide you want to do year-round sales or open an on-farm store, for example, an online platform can absolutely help you with that. Also, a big advantage of adding an online sales channel is that you will have up-to-date contact information for your customers, and they'll have contact information for you. It'll be right in their inbox. This crisis really showed us how important it is to have a mailing list and to be able to contact your customers. Market locations and how sales were made changed quickly, and the farms and markets who already had ways to reach their customers through email or through their social media following, were able to communicate this quickly. And they ended up doing, most of them did better than the folks that had to scramble for ways to connect with their customers. And on the customer side, there were plenty of folks who didn't know the farm names of the names of the farms from who they'd been shopping with for years. They maybe knew the farmer's name, but they didn't know the farm name and how to connect with them online. Maybe they knew, where to find her at market, but not how to find her on Facebook. So having an online sales channel and maintaining your mailing list is incredibly helpful for staying in touch with your customers. That's all I had for my summary. And any questions for me or any last questions for Chris? All right. I'm not seeing any. I will turn it over to Kim.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate it. I hope that you all have found this to be very informative. For those of you that are in Virginia, you know that where farmers markets are concerned, we really had to scramble when the COVID protocols and guidelines came down, and we worked hand in hand with Department of Agriculture and Department of Health and the governor in order to put protocols and guidelines in place in order to be able to sell utilizing a farmer's market and farm products here in Virginia. And how we were able to do that was to commit to doing curbside and pickup. And so markets that had been on the fence and on the cusp about doing an online program or had been thinking about it, or those that already were, position themselves in order to be able to be open early in March in order to provide safe food from Virginia farms when we were having so many supply chain shortages and a variety of different challenges in the grocery stores. And so we have seen throughout COVID here in Virginia, specifically, a huge increase in sales of folks buying from farmers and producers utilizing farmers markets with online platforms. Markets consistently say that they have seen increases in sales, as Mary said, an average is more than double. In March and April, we were seeing 4 and 5 times the sales for the fact that customers had access to the nutrient-dense food as well as it was in a safe environment. Online platforms are so convenient, they're so flexible, and they're so much easier. We found that customers love shopping online, and whether we want to thank Amazon for it or not, folks have gotten used to being able to buy pretty much anything they want from the comfort of their home at any time that they want. And by using an online sales platform dedicated to the farm, like Local Line or the other platforms that are out there, gives you the ability to be able to buy your beautiful local produce and products through safely. What we also saw, which was interesting, was the other side of the flip side of the coin, was that the customers, the farms and farmers and producers that did not use an online platform, but said in March and April, in order to be able to sell, just text me or call me or send me a message through Facebook, those vendors, those producers were not nearly as successful. Customers did not want to reach out to 20 plus vendors in order to buy products. So they might reach out to 1 or 2. Vendors, producers were overwhelmed by the sheer amount of calls and texts and Facebook messages, and all of a sudden having to manage that was cumbersome. And so things fell through the cracks. I experienced personally placing orders 3 weekends in a row at different markets online with producers that I'd shopped with for years, that wanted me to text them my information and what I was buying, and those products weren't available to me when I showed up at market to get them. Whereas when I shop on an online platform, I get a confirmation as a customer. I see it come through my PayPal, my payment. I get an email or a text message reminder to go pick it up at my location of choice. It's very easy for me as a consumer. And I find as a consumer, as we have seen across the board in Virginia of other consumers, that I buy a lot more because it's much easier. I can go in and I can look at all the beautiful produce and agriculture, and then the beef and pork and all the supplemental items. And so we have found at the Farmers Market Association that those folks that are using online platforms are much more successful than those that are not. And as Mary said, and as Chris said, this is not a fleeting fad, or this is not an investment that you're going to make that is not going to continue to pay for itself post-COVID. This is going to give you the opportunity to operate year round. It's going to give you the opportunity to operate and participate at multiple markets, and as well as developing farm stands and working in your community with CSAs. This gives you a lot more flexibility and control as a farmer, as a business person. And so I am so grateful that we had an opportunity to really do a deep dive into Local Line and see what all the benefits were to using this platform. I would like to remind everybody that we're going to be sending out, again, we will send out an email that has an evaluation attached. Please let us know. Mary and I are putting together these webinars based on the feedback from you specifically as to what you want to hear. What is it that you need in order to be successful in your business? And you need to let us know, or else we'll just be flying blind. So please fill out the evaluation. It will only take a couple of minutes, and that literally gives us the feedback that we need in order to move forward with the series. We have more webinars coming with this series. We'll be doing webinars on branding and marketing presented by Dr. Teresa Nortea with VSU, Virginia State University. We also will be having a webinar that we're doing in conjunction with VDAC, the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, on food safety, but also regarding CBD hemp and what the rules are if you're going to have edibles at your market, or you're going to have bath bombs or lotions and things of that sort that have CBD oil, hemp, etc., since the rules are very particular and very specific. So we'll be doing a food safety webinar coming up soon. We also have we'll be doing infectious disease certification for all of you that are at markets regarding the new Department of Labor VOSH standards here in Virginia. So more to come on that. And then we also will be doing towards the fall a gleaning webinar. So please make sure that you have signed up if you are interested in any of these webinars. Please make sure that you've signed up for our newsletter, and you will get the information just as you did for this. We also will be sending out a follow-up email. It probably will be tomorrow. Once the recording, Zoom downloads the recording to us, we will format it and put it up on YouTube. You'll get a link that has the evaluation. It has all the contact information for the speakers, and it has the YouTube link so that you can watch it. You also can go back and you can look at all of our previous webinars, which showcase other platforms that are out there, like Lulu's Local Foods that we did last week, as well as utilizing Google Forms, Square, et cetera, which we did a few weeks ago. So, so feel free to access any of those webinars. I would like to thank very much our partners and our sponsors. Our partner for the Farmer Selling Online Series, Virginia State University, and Michael Carter Jr., thank you so much for all of your support and your partnership through you and the Small Farm Division over at VSU. It has, you know, you said this was needed, and we have seen that this has been a very highly successful series to be able to have these specific conversations with the farmers and producers. So thank you so much for partnering with us on this webinar series. We'd also like to thank all of our sponsors: the Virginia Cooperative Extension, Virginia State University College of Agriculture, the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Virginia Farm Credit Knowledge Center, the Virginia Farm Bureau, and Virginia Fairs. Without our sponsors, we would not be able to do the education and training that we do. And last, I would like to thank our panelists. I would like to thank Chris Walker and Local Line for all of your time and commitment and reaching out and doing this for us, as well as Michael Carter Jr. with VSU, Mary Delicate, and all of our attendees that participated today. Thank you so much for participating, and you will be receiving the link to the webinar YouTube within a day or so. Thank you. Any final questions? Then we will go ahead and we will adjourn this webinar. Thank you so much, and y'all have a good day.